was born on May 3rd, 1924. Lodz was a second largest city of about 600,000 population, and about a third or maybe even more than a third were Jewish people. It was a mainly textile city. There were Jewish manufacturers, there were German manufacturers. Part of it was very well off. The manufacturers did extremely well, and workers were coming from all strata, and there were many Jewish workers, and they lived practically in poverty because they were very poorly paid. My parents, Rose Gutman and Israel Gutman. My dad was a manager of a large hardware store, and my mom had a dressmaking salon, and she was doing quite well. I was the older one of two girls, and my sister's name was Halina. She was 4 years younger than I. And both of us attended a private, Jewish, secular day school for girls. I had a wonderful time in school. We were carefree and careless, and we just were typical teenagers, and we wanted to have a good time. And most of my free time was spent on the ice rink, and I was a figure skater, and just had a wonderful life, and we thought it'll never end. We heard rumors of what was going on in Germany. It was very hard to believe that a government could treat their citizens the way they did Jewish citizens. We expected war to happen. There was a lot of propaganda. There was a lot of, our government assured us that we will go to war and we'll win the war because we are strong and powerful and our armies wonderful and the best. And we believed that we're very patriotic. And so on September the 1st, on a Friday morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, the Germans broke through the barrier and went to war without declaring war. When the first Germans came, they were quite polite. It was still the army, and they were not maybe strongly indoctrinated in hatred and violence. So we said, well, they're not so bad. But after 3-4 days, the true face came through. They would catch Jews with beards, cut them or pull them out. They would take men, mostly men, but women too, to do some demeaning work on the streets. We had horse-drawn cabs, so of course there were a lot of horse droppings in the street, and they were forced to pick up those droppings by hand, clean the streets, maybe with a toothbrush, and be beaten up or carry heavy loads, especially if the man was older. So they knew how to hurt, and that was scary. When we were in Łódź, in Lodz, we had to wear a yellow star, one on our right breast and the right back. This was because Łódź was incorporated in the Third Reich and renamed Liesmannstadt. I know that the ghetto was announced in December 1939, and we were leaving town. I personally was never in the ghetto because we went to a very small town by the name of Chmielnik, southwest of Łódź. My father had a brother there who had a big house, and we all felt that life would be easier. It would be easier to survive because in a small town there were not that many restrictions. We wore a white band with a blue Star of David on the arm. Everybody from the age of 2, once you were outdoors, you had to wear it. In Chmielnik, my father didn't do much of anything because there was no job, there was nothing. My mother, on the other hand, since she was a dressmaker and quite a famous one from a big city, was quite busy. The ladies from the outlying areas got word of it, and they would come and bring their dresses to redo because fabrics were practically unobtainable. And she would make new dresses, and for that she was paid not with money, which was practically worthless, but with produce and food. So we had food, and having food was a key to survival. So we could help our family. And then things started getting a little hotter. There was overcrowding, unemployment, lack of food. There was a community kitchen organized by the Jewish Council. There was always a Jewish council. And people tried to help one another. People who had more would help those who had less. And those who had less and less and less, and they were hungry. And they started dying out. And there were epidemics. There was typhus and typhoid fever. And the ones who were the first victims were the children. And you saw that. So we found a group of teenagers, some of them who were refugees like us from big cities, and some of them were local. And we used to try to keep up with our high school curricula. Textbooks were available because we had them. Teachers were available because they were also refugees, kicked out of their homes. But schools were closed for children, for Jewish children. There were no schools. So we would meet in somebody's house, 5 or 6 of us, and try to study. We wanted to study because just in case we'll be okay, we'll continue. And among the teenagers, I met a young boy who was about my age, who was very good looking. And he always wanted to be a doctor, so he worked for the medical group. But we used to meet together and dream together and talk together. We seemed to be liking each other. And that's how it was. And then rumors started coming in. Rumors of what was going on in the other part of the country. We heard that they were cleaning out Warsaw, the Warsaw Ghetto. Smaller towns were evacuated and brought into larger cities. And then they were saying that some cattle trains were brought in, fumigated, filled with people, and sent out east. And they came back empty. And then other information trickled down that people who were sent out to the east would send back notes, postcards. We are settled, we are working with the family, and everything is okay. There was something fishy about it. There were also rumors they take people, they gas them, they burn them, they make soap out of people. No. These were the anti-Semitic rumors. It can't be, a normal brain does not contain this kind of information.